Last week, a company got in contact with me. They wanted to fly me out to their base in order to see if their cars compared to what I have in my collection and compared to my expectation of cars. So I was given a 5,000 mile ticket all the way to China to put their cars to the test. This is BYD and I am in China. So there's the car, the U8, and here is where we're gonna go into. I wonder how deep they plan on going with it. Okay, I'm slightly nervous. You know what's funny? I don't get nervous track driving, but a car driving in water, that makes me feel nervous. Oh, massage interior whilst we go in water. We're inside the U8 at the moment. This is very, very nice. When cars like this start to come to the UK, when BYD starts introducing their other cars and their Denza cars as well, it's going to be interesting because it's going to force a lot of manufacturers kind of step their game up because look at this. And for the price that you get this for, well, I'm not sure what this will be priced in the UK, but the price you get it for here, this is like insane.
We don't need to fasten our seatbelt?
Yeah, no need. Very safety is very.
I think it's probably better because if something happens, you can get out. Okay, so we're gonna go like that. Okay. Wading mode?
Yeah, the vehicle can detect the depth of the water.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see it on the screen,
so it can tell you how deep the water is.
Yeah.
Oh, this is surreal. Oh my goodness.
Deeper than 1 meter. Our
Oh my God.
Please drive away. It said please drive away. What now? What's happening? Oh my God. The roof opens just in case we need to escape. This is so weird. Look at that. Oh my goodness. What? We're turning in the water. That is insane. Most surreal experience I've ever had in a car. Do you know what it is? Every instinct in your body is telling you that you're in trouble, but the car's not sinking. Jan, how you feel?
I don't know what to think. And the fact, we know this is battery powered. This is electric. And we're in water. Yes. It's not supposed to work. Water and electrics don't go together.
You can see all the water draining out. That is weird. Never did I think I would be in a car that was submerged in water and it wouldn't be an accident or an incident. But the car actually looks really nice. I was expecting something more rugged on the interior, but the interior is what sells it for me. You have massage seats all the way around, heated seats all the way around, and wonderful leather. Look at the infotainment as well. I'm not sure if we'll get something like this in the UK, but it's nice to come out here and try it out. I prefer the front to the back, I think though. But other than that, what a weird experience. It's now time for us to look at BYD's supercar, the Yangrang U9. The U9 delivers 1,288 horsepower. There is an extreme version that produces up to 3,000 horsepower, but that's not the version we're testing today. Instead, we're in the regular version that, despite being the regular car, can still accelerate from 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds and a top speed of around 300 miles an hour. It also has a little trick up its sleeve called the Dices X system, which allows the car to lean into corners, as well as, jump, just in case you need to do that. The limiting factor for this car for me though is the weight, because it is not a light car at all. What that means is that it has to fight physics when it's going around the track and when you're driving on the road. So it'll be interesting to see how it can perform. But the one they have on display here is in this wonderful red color. It's like a very, very deep red. And then also it comes with the wing. So it comes with like an aero kit. There's a lot of carbon fiber on the construction of the car, but because of the batteries, it adds a significant amount of weight. Again, limiting what you can do. And also because of the batteries, it means that you have a raised seating position. I must say, I do like the interior there. This is a show of what BYD can do. It's not on sale in Europe, and it probably will never be on sale in Europe, but it allows us to understand where the company plans on going when it comes to their performance cars. This should be really interesting. Jan's there, I'm here. We have a competitive history. Let's see what happens. It closes itself! Yeah! Oh, that's cool!
Yes!
Let's see how it performs on a wet, cold, and nervous track. In the Yangrang U9 now, this car has 1,200 horsepower, but there is a variant that has 3,000 horsepower. It's wet, so we're not driving that today, but we're gonna see how this car performs dynamically on a wet and cold circuit with 1,000 horsepower. So we've been speed restricted to 140 kilometers an hour today, and that's because the car can do well above that. It's just that we do not want to crash. So hard into the braking zone. The brakes are very sensitive. It uses a combination of regen and the disc brakes. You throw it in. One thing you do feel is that the suspension system is doing its best to sort out physics because it's not a light car. So when you're driving, you can feel the car goes to dive and the suspension system then goes to prop it back up. And then when you're in the corners, it leans out of the corner and then back in to keep the weight distribution perfect so you stay flat, but you also get maximum turn. It does turn in very well. It just feels very unnatural. It's one of those cars that I feel like you'd have to take for a few laps before you can really appreciate what it can do. If we floor the car, you see 140 kilometers an hour. It gets there really quickly, and then we do some hard braking here. To be fair, the brake zones that they've set out for us are way too early. You can get away, even in the wet, with braking way later, thanks to the performance of the car. You get the gist. It's a heavy car, it's a fast car, but dynamically, it can still perform well, and that's how it managed to get the EV Nürburgring record, which is really impressive. But yeah, inside the car feels nice. Driving position doesn't necessarily feel like that of a supercar. It feels more like a GT car. But other than that, on a track, it performs, and that's what I wasn't sure it'd be able to do. But I'm pleasantly surprised. So now we've been invited to go in the Denza Z9 GT to try out a kick plate, which is essentially losing control in a controlled environment. Whoa. So now I'm in the back of the car and I'm gonna experience it as a passenger, which I feel won't be a great feeling, but let's see how it is.
Yeah, really.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Oh, it's really uncomfortable back. Whoa! Whoa! Hey, yes! Good job! Good job!
Oh my gosh.
The coffee's ejected from the coffee cup. Oh my goodness. So we're currently in a Denza car. Yanni is going to show us the intelligent parking system of the car. I just had to play with it. It's very quick. So let's see how it performs. It can do some really cool tricks as well. And release the brake, and then the car figures out the most efficient way to get into space. But it can do this thing that I've never seen a car do before, where instead of just reversing into the space or driving forwards into the space, it places the front nose in, and then it spins the rear wheels in opposite direction of each other in order to rotate the car, which on a wet day is fine, but on a dry day I feel like this will limit your tire life quite significantly, but it means that you can get into your parking space very easily. We have a nice view of the entirety of the facility here. So let me give you a quick aerial tour. This is essentially the 1,200 square meter playpen, which they can set up in any way they want. Right now they have it set up in this slalom gymkhana is what they were calling it. Just behind it, you see this circle disc here. That is a skid pan. So they hydrate it and you can slide the car around to your heart's content. Over here we have the kick plate, which we did earlier, and this around it is the track, with that being the artificial sand dune. In fact, it won a Guinness World Record for being the world's largest artificial sand dune. The cars are literally dancing. Look how much suspension travel they have. That's so much water. A nice little tandem drift going on there, I love it. Some very, very precarious drifting occurring. So the Z9 is moving forward and the other Z9 is sliding around it, and this is an attempt to show how dynamic the cars are. So we're currently at the world's tallest indoor sand dune. It goes up very high, again, 10 stories high. We're not allowed to drive up there, but a professional driver will be driving, and they'll be in the U8, which is the same car that we took into the water earlier. So it can conquer water, it can conquer land and sand. This just a car going up an indoor sand dune. Only in China will you see something like that. I would not want to be doing that. The camera is just not showing how steep that is. Before coming here, I knew BYD was big, but I didn't think I realized how big BYD is. Size of the room and the amount of cars that are moving up and down. Like even behind me, tons of cars. It just shows that production levels here are just off the charts. In 2025 alone, they sold about 4.6 million vehicles globally, which is 10 times more than what it sold in 2020. And this factory in Zhengzhou gives a proper sense of the scale. It's not just really a factory in a normal sense, it's kind of like an automotive city. I say this because the site covers around 10 square kilometers, with cars, batteries, motors, and key components all built in one place. Around 60,000 people work here, and it's estimated that they can produce about 1 car per minute. So when you see this place, you start to understand how BYD has become one of the biggest forces in the automotive industry, especially in China. So we just finished the factory tour, well, part of the factory tour. How did you feel?
Me and Tommy are fully jet lagged. 2 hours sleep. We've been up since 6 a.m. and it is now 4:30.
Jeez. So what we're going to do now is go back to the hotel and resume this wonderful BYD experience tomorrow. But we're doing something very exciting tomorrow, so check it out. Look out for that.
So yesterday you saw us do the track experience. That was fun, but we're doing something slightly more exciting today. And you're probably thinking, Tommy, what's more exciting than driving a 1,000 horsepower car around the track? Or what's more exciting than floating? And well, off-roading with a 1,200 horsepower SUV. So I found someone that's very helpful, that's willing to hold the camera for me. You can see the off-road tires, it's very muddy out there, so it's likely we'll probably get stuck today. We also have a scoop to allow us to wade in water, but I doubt we're gonna do that today. Even if we did go in water, this is the car that can float, remember. On the top, we have a drone. A drone that pops out in case you wanna film yourself off-roading. I mean, why would you do that? I don't know, but people do it anyway. On the rear of the car, you can see it comes with a spare tire, which we hopefully won't need. This is a very interesting light signature. One thing I found about the Chinese cars is they're a lot more playful in terms of how they use their LED lighting and how they use the lights on the car. So these can actually project cool little images and stuff, which is insane. But despite that, on the interior of the car, you have massage seats all the way around. You can adjust your seats, and you have a panoramic roof, which again is something that I'm not really used to when it comes to like a rugged off-roader like a Land Rover Defender, for example. But we have it here, and hopefully it will be capable enough and impressive enough to be able to tackle this course and bring us back home, and not get us too muddy, hopefully, because yeah, it's gonna be a tricky one. The car looks very nice in black. It will look even nicer in satin black. I know that's like a typical thing to say, but I think it will look so nice in satin black. And now we are going to head out in the Denza B5s, which are my personal favorite. When these come to the UK, it'll be interesting to see what they're marketed at, because here these cars are about 30,000 Great British pounds, well, the equivalent of 30,000 Great British pounds. So it'll be interesting to see what it's like when it comes to the European market. But we're going to do some rally driving, and here is the rally track. So me and Yanni are in the car. Unfortunately, Yanni for some reason has his own brake pedal, so this could be a very interesting situation. Whoa! It's starting quite fast.
I'm definitely using my brake.
My goodness. I thought this car has 4-wheel drive. It also has a small 1.5, I believe, engine, as well as a battery. Now, off-roading normally is done in a full gas-powered car, and the reason for that is when you break down or when you run out of fuel, you can carry extra with you. This car, it has a range extender ability with the engine, thanks to the intelligent architecture of the powertrain. So the engine can actually power the wheels, or it can assist if you need more power, or it can recharge and regen the engine. So the car's very capable. It's managing everything without,
incredible.
We're not getting stuck, we're not feeling anything weird, and that's because this car's been designed to do this. It's interesting, the focus they put on trying to little slide there.
Drifting.
Oh, okay. Oh, nice. Look
good.
at that. Look at the power. Look at the power.
Feel the power.
Look at the power. So basically, I'm overqualified to drive on this. So they said I can't drive. They said I'm too good at driving. They don't want me to show everyone up. Now, that car has 685 horsepower. Very capable. And I think that's down to the architecture, and then the fact that because it has so much power and it has the torque vectoring, it can pretty much overcome any obstacle that comes in its way. This car is smoking right now.
So before we go out again, a quick roundup of the stats. 1,200 horsepower, 4 electric motors. It has an internal combustion engine as well that can top up the battery or power the wheels if you need more power. And also it weighs 3.4 tons. So it's not something you would expect for an off-roading car. So let's see how it performs. They've also informed us, and they informed everyone else, like I just said, you don't actually have to press the accelerator when off-roading in this because the car can manage the torque directly using the ECU. Let's see how this turns out. So currently we're in the Yangwang U8. We've started our off-roading moment. That is a big drop on the left. You can see the system displaying what the car's doing over here. So you can see power's going independently to each wheel. But you can see you can have diff lock on the front and the rear, which is nice, which should help us again when we're off-roading. Currently the car has ESC off, and you know when you're off-road it's probably best to do that, otherwise the system can get confused. Wow. Okay, let's see how 3.4 tons traverses an incline. Yeah, but when you've got 1,200 horsepower, off-roading tires, I would expect it to be. And then one thing that's really good that will help us along this off-roading journey is the fact that each wheel is independently powered. Thank goodness. Oh my goodness, look guys, I'm not sitting in the seat, I'm being held by the seatbelt. So this is creep, so he doesn't have to, he's just pressed the creep button on the infotainment, so now he doesn't have to press the accelerator. The car will instead manage the torque to keep us at a constant 4/5 kilometers an hour. So it stops you from beating yourself or digging yourself in. It just makes it a lot easier to get up because the car's computer, they can measure everything that's happening in each wheel, each corner of the car, thousands of times per second. So they can manage the torque and delivery of that torque directly. So that brings the driving action to the end. The cars dynamically are very good. I was expecting the cars to be a lot more numb feeling in terms of the way they handle. I think the only thing BYD has to overcome, because they're so reliant on batteries, the weight of their cars is quite significant. And honestly, it compromises them in some ways. If they could make their cars lighter and could make them a bit more responsive thanks to the reduction in weight, I think then the cars will be pretty much unrivaled in their price class because they're providing a very high quality experience for a very low cost. So that's a wrap at the BYD test facility. Not only have we driven in water, we've driven off-road, and we've driven on track, we also saw a car traverse an artificial dune. Now, my expectations for the BYD cars and this BYD trip in general was pretty low, if I'm being honest. I was expecting the cars not to feel communicative and not to feel as well put together as I assumed, just based off of what I've heard about a lot of Chinese brands. However, BYD have knocked it out of the park. Honestly, I'm thoroughly impressed with how well the cars perform in any given scenario. And I think the thing I'm most impressed by is the standard of build quality that's featured in these cars. The fast charging technology and their hybrid systems are 10 steps ahead of what I would have ever expected. It comes down to value for money for me. Do you get what you pay for? And if the answer is no, I would be lying, because these cars provide the performance of a 100 to 200,000 pound car in the package and price of a 50,000 pound car. Now, if that isn't value for money, I don't know what is.